Cześć Wam, dzień dobry. Słuchajcie, mam ogromną przyjemność w swoim życiu prowadzić rozmowy, o których mogłam kiedyś tylko marzyć, a teraz te marzenia się ziszczają. I jedną z takich rozmów jest rozmowa z autorką książki Los, który dziedziczysz, który pokazałabym Wam, ale nie będę jej ruszać z tego pięknego stolika, Wy sobie zobaczycie w sieci i podczas naszej rozmowy, mam nadzieję, skorzystacie z takiej okazji, żeby jak najszybciej kupić tę książkę i posłuchać albo ją samej poczytać, bo książka jest świetna, autorka jest wspaniała i to jest ten przywilej, to marzenie, które dzisiaj spełniam, że będę mogła porozmawiać z Noémi, która z tego co wiem jest pierwszy raz w Polsce, ale zaraz to sprawdzę. I ten wywiad będzie się odbywał po angielsku, ale nie martwcie się, będzie mieć napisy. Ja teraz się przełączam na angielski i już wędruję do Noémi, a Was zapraszam do podróży po krainie, która jest coraz bardziej taka naświetlona i określona, a długo była gdzieś w cieniu, czyli trudności, traumy transgeneracyjne, pokoleniowe rzeczy, które przenosimy i wreszcie jest przestrzeń na to, żeby o tym porozmawiać. Noémi, I've heard a rumor that it's your first time in Poland.
Yeah, I mean, it's the second time actually, but it's been such a long time since I've been here.
Do you find Poland different than the last time you were here?
I can hardly remember last time, but as soon as we arrived, I felt the energy here, and which is very, very welcoming and very nice and very positive. So I am very pleased to be here. So thank you for the invitation.
I'm probably more happy than you are to have a chance to talk to you and welcome you. And I do appreciate the energy that you just named, because I think when my friends or colleagues from other countries come to Poland and I take them to my hometown, my parents used to they didn't speak any English or German or whatever, but the welcoming, you know, the feast, the food,
yeah.
we have it in here in Poland. So I do hope this stay here is going to be memorable and you're going to come back more than once.
For sure.
So, a word of appreciation first. Before we started recording, I told you this, but I want to have it on record so that you have it as well. I want to thank you for writing this book from a female perspective, but also from a perspective of a person that lives in Europe and have the ability to look at the history of this, especially not the whole Europe, but also the section of Europe that was touched not only with the wars, but also communism and the way it affected the suppression of feelings and the way we not dealt with everything that was transferred for the ages here. So thank you for writing this book. As a psychologist, but also as a female, but also as a Eastern European
human
being, exactly.
Yeah.
So what was the intention of writing this book?
Intention? I don't think there was a big intention. It just felt like, you know, it was tearing my chest apart and I had to write it. And I think this is the best intention, that you don't have any other chance than to write a book. But it started everything when I went to university and I discovered more and more very important things like attachment theory. I learned about attachment theory. I learned about various kind of things like family therapy, and I had the feeling, okay, I have to tell it to everybody. So we have to learn about this psychological knowledge, and this is how it started.
Because the psychology is broad and deep. Yeah. And there are different tracks that you can take, cognitive therapy, different sides. What made you choose sort of the way you work? For me, it's a blend of everything. And how did you decide on the path?
Yeah, because this is how I see the world. It's very complex. And even a case when someone comes to see me as a patient, I can't just concentrate on their way of thinking or on their behavior. I have to see the whole the whole concept, the whole story of the person, and this is why I decided to go kind of an integrated way of psychotherapy and not just use one certain method.
Yeah.
Because I think it's one certain method is never enough to understand a person and to help a person to develop, to heal trauma. You always have to choose different kind of methods to be able to help.
Are you surprised with the success of the book?
Very much, very much.
How
That
come?
was not expected, not even by the publisher company. I think it was a big surprise. I mean, I felt somehow that it's a very important topic,
Yes.
and I touched something very important, but the success was overwhelming.
Yeah.
I think for everybody in Hungary.
Yeah, but it's such a when you mentioned the chest opening with
Yeah.
the book, I think there are moments in which you have to birth a book because the world is in a state that needs it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I guess that's part of the success. The world
Yeah.
needs this
For
book.
sure, it came at the right time because people were ready to face the truth. They were ready to face the truths which are mentioned by the book. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And you also, it's such a feast when you go through the pages of the book to see how you blend and mix, use different tools and different ideas of working with people. I'm curious whether the patients that you work with were surprised that you sometimes ask them to draw something, sometimes you ask them to move the chairs, sometimes you ask them, are they surprised?
By the time we come to this kind of work, they are already used to my questions, that they never know
Yeah.
where we are heading to. But first you have to build trust with the patient, and then when they trust you, they will not be surprised anymore because they kind of follow you. They trust you and they follow you.
Yeah.
And they might not know
Yeah.
what is the reason behind a question or a certain task, but they just trust you, and trust is one of the most important element of psychotherapy. And all the rest is just, it's not very important, but trust is the base of the therapy.
Yeah. And if you were to define trauma, what would you say? How would you describe it?
Oh, I think nowadays it's more complicated to define trauma than it used to be, because we used to think that trauma is a big event. It's a very obvious event. It's something very dreadful. But nowadays we are more aware that even the small micro-traumas can cause serious damage in a person's life. So trauma can be something big and can be very tiny, unseen, kind of tiny events. Like someone, for example, growing up in a family where there is not enough emotional capacity from the parent's side to respond to the needs, to the emotional needs, it can be very much traumatizing. Yeah. Very much traumatizing. And you can't compare. I mean, it also diminishes your personality, your identity on a core, in a core.
Are there any themes, like the most popular traumas that you work with?
I work with various traumas because I think we all carry different kind of traumas. We carry the traumas of our parents and sisters, grandparents, great-grandparents who lived through very difficult times, like through wartime. But we also carry our own traumas, which can be various, like sexual abuse or emotional abuse, physical abuse. And when you think, okay, I start working with, for example, sexual trauma, then it turns out that there is much more behind one certain trauma. There is emotional abuse from the parent's side, there is emotional abuse from a teacher's side, there is neglect from a grandparent's side. So I mean, it's very complicated and very complex. So I never focus on one certain trauma, because there is always much more behind. And I have to know it, and I have to be aware when I start working with a client that there is always much more.
And it's only the present moment, but as you said, it's the previous generations, and sometimes it goes back like 3 generations in the past. So if you were to describe what is the way of healing a trauma, is I don't know how to phrase it in a proper way, but is it enough to discover it and name it, or is there anything else?
No, for sure not. I mean, the first step is to discover that, okay, this is the story of my family, for example. But therapy is much more complex and complicated, and it's kind of a puzzle, and you have to know the reasons of your behavior, of your relational patterns. You have to know the reason why you act the way you act. But then healing is a journey, and you don't know which path is the right path. There might be several paths. You have to go the way along to be healed, to be cured. But understanding is the first step. Then we might use cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, because it's very important to know the connection between your thoughts and your emotions and your behavior. It's very important to discover, okay, it's not something I can't understand. It's something you can understand. Okay, this is what I thought, and this is how I behaved. These are my preconceptions about the other people, and this is the reason why I behave in certain ways. And then you try to do some unconscious work, like using hypnotherapy to reach deeper levels of your soul. And it's also very interesting to work with symbols which come up through these works, through hypnotherapy work. And then, of course, we also have to include the body into this whole psychotherapy, because it's also important to learn to understand the signs of your body, to reconnect with your body, because in most cases you disconnect from your body when you go through trauma. This is the best way of healing, not to feel, or coping, not to feel what you feel. And then this way you kind of learn how to disconnect, how to survive. And you disconnect from your body, and during psychotherapy you have to learn how to reconnect to your body, and not only understand the signs of your body, but to be able to influence your feelings and your bodily sensations, and and it's like really like a puzzle. And then you're free from trauma? Is there a moment? Free, I wouldn't say you are free, but because what does it mean being free from a trauma? I mean, the past is the past. We can't change the past, but you are a more mature person who is able to deal with the consequences of trauma, and you are able to realize that all your reactions are because of the past, and you are able to correct your reactions. And I think this is the most we can do.
I think it's about the choice at the end. Like I choose to accept it and choose differently.
That's right. The choice, and you are not kind of a victim of your past. And I think this is the most important aim, not to remain victims, but to
overcome it,
and become more and more mature persons who are able to have choices.
Because the question of mine, is there a moment where you're like, oh, I'm free from trauma, comes from my own experience, because I've suffered from eating disorders for a very long time. And one of the therapists that I work with sort of told me that, Joanna, remember, you're never going to be free from it. I was like, I'm going to be free from it. I'm going to be the first one to be free from it.
If you never come back again.
Yeah. It's like, I will clear it out. But now I understand what she meant. It's sort of like, it's the color of my path that I have. And it doesn't affect me the way it did. I don't have the behaviors that I used to have. But it's part of my, you know.
It's part of your identity.
Yes.
But it's not, it doesn't affect your present time and hopefully not your future.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's part of your story, your identity, and you are the person who overcame this kind of eating disorders.
Yeah.
And and you are the person who experienced its inner strength, and I think it's very important to be aware that we are much stronger than we used to think.
But it's also, I was really obviously the history of the anorexic girl in the book touched on me, and I was reminded with this chapter that sometimes we focus on the here and now, like, so what's the causes, like why is she not eating, and we forget that, as you said, there may be different stories that affect here and now. But sometimes we don't have the tools, but sometimes the parents don't believe that there is anything else than this. And how do you work with parents especially? Because as you said in the book, you have this belief or the experience that it's not about the kid very often. It's about something else.
I mean, I think I'm in a very good position because parents who come to see me, they are very keen to make changes in their lives, and they suffer a lot because of the symptoms of their children, and they are ready to do whatever has to be done to resolve the problem. So kind of I'm knocking an open door.
Yes.
Okay. When I try to have them focus on their problems instead of focusing on the problem of their children, and and then they are open to see the truth. I think. So I'm in a much better position than my colleagues used to be 20, 30 years ago, when you had to kind of educate people to the basic knowledge of psychology. Nowadays, people are kind of aware that we don't only have a rational mind, but we have a subconscious mind, and we have automatic reactions, and our behavior and relational patterns are influenced by the past of our parents. So it's much easier nowadays. Much easier nowadays.
Yeah. One of the topics that I think, all of the topics are interesting, but one of the things that people might be interested in and immediately apply to themselves is the birth order. So, so the children are born in a sequence,
and it's very easy to understand.
And it's so if a parent is reading a book and they're preparing themselves to have a child, or they already have like 2 or 3 or 4 or 1, what would be your suggestion or your advice based on what you know about the order?
Go to therapy before you have a child. I think it would be very useful for every being parent. I mean, it's just because becoming a parent, we thought for quite a long time that it's so easy, because you will know what to do, you will know how to react, but you don't know. Your reactions are mostly automatic reactions. You react in the way your parents reacted to you when you were a child. So, and you just, the automatic reactions are there in your body. They are stored in your body, and you just repeat what your parents used to do with you when you were a little baby. But we have to kind of correct the negative reactions of our parents, or learn right reactions, or we kind of have to learn the developmental phases a child goes through, because it's a knowledge we are never taught.
Yes.
Don't you think? I mean, it's so crazy that you have to take lessons before you have your driving license, but you can take your child home from the hospital without taking any parental training or whatever. So first of all, you have to know the basic knowledge. Then you have to kind of dig deeper into your own life, into your own personality, into your reactions. You have to kind of understand yourself, understand your reactions, and know which reaction needs to be kind of reshaped when you become a parent. Yeah. So turn your attention first at yourself, and then you will know where to make some corrections, and because being a parent means a constant kind of training and development. You have to develop yourself as a human being to become a very good parent.
Yes, yes. So I know it's a big question, but and plenty of the answers are in your book. But if you were to suggest or advise again to parents how not to transfer traumas to their children, apart from going to therapy, is there anything else?
Yeah, I think it's very important to be open to our children's reaction and emotions, and we have to learn how to react to their emotions, because one way trauma is passed over or down to the next generation is by repressing feelings, not talking about feelings, not validating our feelings. Because as I said, repressing our feelings is the easiest way of coping with trauma. But when we start doing it, it becomes very automatic. And this is what we do with ourselves, and this is what we expect our children to do. So we should kind of cut the cycle and be open to the feelings of our children, encourage them to express their feelings, encourage them to name their feelings, to feel their feelings. It's very important, because what do we do with, for example, with boys? Boys don't cry. And we teach our sons from a very early age not to cry. And then we are, surprised that grown-up men can't name any of their feelings. Maybe they can be angry, but they are not aware that behind the anger there is sadness, there is shame, there is insecurity. So we have to encourage our children to freely feel their emotions, and it's not that easy, because the negative feelings of our children can be very threatening for us. When we went through trauma, we learned to suppress our feelings, and then suddenly there is a crying child, and we are the ones who should help the child go through these heavy emotions, but we ourselves never learned how to do it. So the automatic reaction is suppress it, don't show it to me, don't show it. And then we might turn our head away, we might tell our children to stop crying, don't cry, go to your room. If you can't calm yourself down, we have to teach them how to calm our emotions down, how to control our emotions. I think it's one of the most important knowledge, to be able to control our emotions. If we are very much upset, then how to get a bit higher, how to calm ourselves. It's very important, and we should learn it in school. If we don't learn it from our parents, it should be taught at the schools.
And especially I think when you use the word control, I think that people misunderstand it, because for some of them control is like grasping and not letting go.
Yeah.
So it's all about sort of like navigating with it.
Navigating, yeah. This is it's a much better word. Yeah, you are right. Yeah, navigating. But then by navigating, you are able to control it, but not in an aggressive way. Because control for some people means suppressing it.
Yes.
It's not the right thing. We should do with our emotions.
And we have this saying in Polish, and as I heard you have it in Hungary, that Polish and Hungarian are brothers and sisters.
Yeah, true. We have the same saying, yes.
A pretty huge amount of the history of our book. We share it.
Very big part of our past and history. Yeah.
Yes, and
we know what we are talking about.
Yes. And part of the history that we have in common is the context of communism.
Yeah.
So it was a part of the history in which suppressing, as you said, like pushing down in the gray reality that was given to us. It was almost inevitable for people not to deal with it by suppressing, by drinking, by avoiding conversations. Not having tools is one thing, but
carrying secrets for decades.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So my question is, in your work and in your experience, do you see any particular traumas that are connected to this period of history in Poland and Hungary?
So secrecy and the loss of trust is a very big burden we carry in this part of the world, because of the socialist regime. I mean, this is what we had to learn. That we can't trust anybody, not even our neighbors or not even our spouses, because they might have decided to report whatever we say. So I think it's a very, very big burden, because losing trust in each other can affect not our personal life but our whole society. And this is what I think this is the experience we share. Here in Poland and in Hungary.
Yeah, and I'm 42, so I'm a generation of parents who used to have their youth in the communism, but their parents were involved in the war. So it's kind of like a melody, a theme of survival, not sharing, suppressing, survival, and trying to figure out how to live.
Physical survival.
Yes, which was the biggest threat. Then the mental, the emotional survival of not accepting the reality. So my question is, because in Poland we do see a theme of generation of men right now who were brought up mainly by women because the fathers were absent.
Absent fathers.
Do you see that same in Hungary, and what is the way of healing that?
Yeah, we have the same problem in Hungary. Even fathers who lived in the family, they were absent, because this was their role, not to be present in the family. Just, making money, and that was it. And then they were kind of excluded from the emotional life of the family and the emotional life of their children. So we have to kind of teach the new generation of men to get involved in the upbringing of their children. And I think it all starts with the birth of the children, and it's very important, fathers being involved from the very early stage of pregnancy, and not just thinking of them as bystanders, who are just there and they are kind of a source of help, because they are much more. We have to help them to get involved emotionally and being present.
Yeah. So one thing is for them to get the skill set and the idea that it's safe to share and to be involved. But I think it's part of our female job to actually not take care of everything and let them in.
It's very important what we think about the role of a man. We have to think about first, and then we can make changes. And yet it's very important to involve them and to actually pay attention to their feelings too, because involving a man doesn't mean, okay, help me, be there, and for me. We should be there for them too. And this is the way how we kind of acknowledge that they also have feelings, and we have to validate their feelings, because, you know, they very likely grew up in a family where nobody validated their feelings. So it's you know, it's a big shift in this paradigm. So we kind of have to invent new ways, because no one taught us. Invent, and also be ready to drop the ideas that we used to believe in. And live in a different way that our parents live. But it's not that easy.
No,
because it's a very solid belief system. And to change our belief system, to change behavioral and emotional patterns, it takes time. As I said, it's a very long journey.
And you also mentioned in the book the concept of loyalty towards family and friends and generations. Could you share a bit more about that?
Many people think that if they dig deeper into the past, and when they kind of discover or become open to the knowledge that yes, the past, that was trauma in their past, they might think that, okay, they are disloyal to their parents, and they don't want to be disloyal. But discovering the past and acknowledging that yes, I suffered emotional pain, I suffered emotional abuse in my childhood. It doesn't mean that you are disloyal to your parents. It means that you are ready to face the truth. And maybe you facing the truth can help your parents to start their healing journey. And because if we heal ourselves, we can heal the future, we can help our children to have a better life, and we also can heal the past. I mean, in this way, helping our parents, grandparents to talk about stories they might have never talked about. And sometimes we forget, some of us don't believe that healing inside doesn't require, you know, driving to our parents and letting them know, like, you blaming them. No, I mean, blaming our parents is not the way of healing. No, I never suggest to any of my patients to, first of all, when you start your own journey, you discover things, and you have the urge to open up to your family about your discoveries, but it's never the right way. You have to give yourself time to mature, to find the right words, to the right reactions, and then after quite a while, you can start conversations with your parents, but never in this way, like, okay, now I know that you are the wrong one. Now I know that you are the one I can blame for my suffering. Because I think trauma therapy can help us to better understand the whole context, and by understanding the whole context, you also understand why your parents behaved the way they behaved. And then when you understand, then you forget to blame them. You understand that, you know, they too suffered, they too had unmet needs in their early life, and their behavior is a consequence of something. And then when you see that this is only a consequence, and it's not because they are absolutely wrong or bad persons, but their reactions are a consequence of their upbringing, then you forget blaming them.
Do you consider forgiveness part of the process?
I wouldn't say forgiveness, but understanding. But yes, it can have, forgiveness can be a consequence, but it's not a necessary step, according my point of view. But you know, when you understand someone, you might be able to forgive. But it doesn't mean that you will actually be able to form a better relationship with the other person, because it takes two to have an intimate relationship. And maybe you are able to get over your past, your traumas, your pain, which were caused by your parents. But maybe if they don't go through a therapeutic process, they are not able to change.
Yes.
And then you have to accept that, yes, now you are ready to have a different relationship with them, but they are not.
Yeah.
And then you have to accept it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But because of the half of the therapy, you will be able to accept it, that it's out of my control. I can't change their behavior, but now I am able to look at them differently. And maybe your change will be enough to change their reactions. For example, I remember my grandmother. She went through very hard times when she was a child. She lost part of her family and had a stepfather who was really rigid and kind of an aggressive person. So this is how she grew up. Then she got married to the love of her life, and then she lost him only after 6 months. And then she remarried. But you know, all these losses just made her a very, very rigid person who never talked about emotions, who never gave emotions. She gave food instead of emotions. But I remember me starting university, and I could feel that all the knowledge just changed my way of behavior, and we started to have very, very deep conversations, and it enabled me to ask her good questions, not the questions I wanted to know at the first hand, but we just started to have conversations. I started asking her questions about her childhood, and she was very happy to talk about her past. And through these conversations, she actually realized what she went through, and then she opened up emotionally too. And late in her life, we were able to form a totally different relationship than we used to have.
Stories like these are a reminder for all of us that patience, but also approaching the other person from through a different gate, not like, why aren't you showing your emotions?
No, it's not.
It's like, tell me your story, like what happened to grandpa, or so it's all about entering from a different angle.
What was your favorite food when you were a child? Who made it for you? Do you remember the taste of the food? How was it? How did it taste? Was it sweet? Was it sour? And what was your favorite toy? Did you have any toys when you were a child? Who was your best friend? Have you had any friends in your childhood? So I mean, you kind of open gates with these kind of questions, and then you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and then you are there. Because we all want to protect ourselves, so we have to be very careful by choosing our questions, and we just, we just run in with with questions, because then the other person will protect themselves.
So we touched on a little bit on the childhood traumas and children upbringing. Then we touched on men in societies that were brought up by absent fathers, families. Now it's time for adults. So there are a few stories in your book which describe a sort of not a healthy relationship with your adult parents. And we're not talking about children and their parents, but we're talking about 20 years old, 30-year-old, 50, 60 sometimes year old children who they're still, for example, living with their parents in the same house. So what would be the, I know psychology is complex, and sometimes I find myself really silly asking the question, like, what is the solution? Like, what are the 3 steps? I know that there are no...
Everybody wants to know the three key steps, but there are no...
No, there are 1,000 steps.
1,000 steps, and the long journey.
And the long journey. But if we could think for a second, if somebody reads your book or listens to this and realizes, oh my God, I visit my parents every day or every other week, and no wonder my relationship with women or men are, affected by it. What is the way out?
Yeah. First of all, the question is, why do you visit your parents? Is it because you love them a lot and this is the way how your family functions, or you visit them because you feel a kind of an obligation and you couldn't do any other way? Okay, because if you visit them regularly, but there are days when you don't visit them and you don't feel ashamed or you don't feel any pressure, then it's fine. Then it's fine. When it's your free will, your free decision to do so, it's fine. You don't need to change anything. But in the other case, if you feel a kind of a pressure from their side, because if I wouldn't visit them, then they would become angry with me, they would become, I don't know, avoidant, then it's another question. Then you have to work on your attachment style, as we say it in psychology, because it might, the case might be that you have a kind of an anxious attachment style, and this is why you do it. This is why you visit them. This is why you live with them, because you are afraid that you might lose them easily. And how to correct the attachment style? I mean, we have to have a secure relationship to learn how it works. So, and in most cases, it will be therapy, where you learn that, this is how a mature relationship works, that we are there for each other. I can trust the other person. The other person won't disappear in a moment, because when you are anxious, then this is what you are afraid, that the other person won't be there when I need them.
Wow, it's such a, I could spend 3 weeks with you and not have the list of the questions still unfulfilled, because I love the way you explain things, because you do it, probably you've heard it 1,000 times, but I just want 1,001, that you explain things in such a way that they are graspable, like, okay, I understand it. Oh, I can understand that the attachment style. Oh, okay. So the very question I can ask myself is, why do I do it? So you are such a beautiful, in a good way, you're such a beautiful tool that helps us understand the complexity of the inner world here, but also on the outside. And I wanna appreciate it and thank you for that, because it's a talent to actually describe something that is so difficult to describe in a way that you finish the book and it's like, oh, okay. When you were writing the book, did you have any dreams or the ideas how you want the book to affect the life of the readers?
I was hoping that it will affect their life, and I was hoping that it will help them to better understand themselves and their parents and their family. But it was so far away at the time when I wrote the book. I remember correcting my sentences. Is this sentence okay? Will they understand it? And this was how I kind of, because the original text just came out like this, but then I started to correct every single sentence. Okay, is it understandable? Is it helpful? Will it be? Is it understandable enough? This was the way my future readers were included in the writing process.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any things that you decided not to put in the book?
No, no. I don't believe in taboos. I don't believe in secrets. I think we are mature enough and rational enough to face the truth, to face any human experience. And we have to be able to talk about any human experience. We shouldn't judge ourselves, we shouldn't judge others, and we have to, I believe in open societies where you know, we can talk about everything.
Yeah.
Because we all share the very same experiences, and we have to build a society which is open to any human experience.
Do you believe in trauma-free world?
Yes, I do, actually. I do. I think humans inside are very good creatures, very helpful, very altruistic. This is what I believe. I don't think we are an aggressive species. I don't think. We have to teach our kids from the very early age to become, we have to be very empathetic towards our children, so that when they grow up they can feel empathy towards each other. We have to kind of read their minds, so that when they grow up they will become, they will be able to read the minds of others, which is called mentalization. It's a very, very interesting concept by Peter Fonagy, who is a very famous psychologist, and I really like this concept of mentalization, seeing myself from the outside and knowing the others from the inside, and then it will help us to build a more peaceful future.
Yeah. Sometimes I ask myself that question, like, do I believe that we can do good as a human species? And when there are wars breaking up, and when there are difficult moments happening, threats, accidents, I sometimes lose for a second the hope that I have in humankind, but then I go back, and I have not a hope, but I get myself in a position thinking, like, what does my work mean? Like, it doesn't change anything. And then I go back, if it changes one person like you did, they go back to their home and they affect differently, and then it affects. So it's like
for sure. And nowadays wars are the consequences of past wars. So, but we have to stop someday, and yes, and this is what I believe in. Change one person's mind, and then you change a whole community. And it's like this. There's this. I don't know who is the author of this story, but there's a story that there are people watching others in the river drowning, and then trying to take them out and take them out, and they keep on taking them out instead of going up to the mountain and see why are they in the river in the first place. So again, advice, a tip, how to. I know it's a big question, but how to stop any other wars from breaking up? How to stop any cruelty? What can we do? I mean, you won't be able to change the world on your own, but you can change your personal surrounding, what is going on. When, for example, you meet someone, how do you greet the person? How do you greet the shop assistant in the shop? How do you talk to a taxi driver? It's very important, and you know, we have to be aware that our words have very serious effects. I work with patients, and they remember words back in, I don't know, decades, and you know, it's our responsibility, or we have to take responsibility for our words, for our behavior, and we have to be aware that it has an effect on other people. And yes, we won't be able to change the big picture, the word itself, but you know, the word contains of small, tiny little words, and we can change our own word.
Yeah.
You know, we can reach. This is the length.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we should reach to other people.
Yeah. This is the best way to end this conversation, to reach out and be, and I know it's a cliche, but if we want to see the change in the world, we have to change.
We have to first see it in ourselves, in our very close surrounding. And yes, we have to take responsibility on our actions and on our words and the way we behave. Yeah, yeah. So there's a homework for every person listening or watching us. Smile to a driver in a taxi or Uber. Smile to an assistant. Compliment somebody at this, on the street. Yeah, because we are important. Yes. All our reaction is very important to others, and we have to carry this knowledge every day with us.
Yeah. What can I wish you? What do you wish me to wish you? Since the words are, powerful.
Energy to write my new book.
Yes.
Patience to write my new book.
Yes. So I do hope you're going to write even 1,000 more, because, as I said, you have the rare talent of explaining difficulties in a simple way. So,
thank you.
So I wish you energy and patience and time and beautiful house at the seaside, so you can ride and just watch the waves coming in and out. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this lovely conversation. Thank you.